Hello and welcome to UT Health San Antonio Leadership Podcast, the show that profiles the individuals in leadership positions at UT Health San Antonio. I'm your host, Ryan Kniffel, and today we're going to talk about personal growth, success, and having the true responsibility of a leader. My guest today is Andrea Marks, Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer with UT Health San Antonio. Andrea has been with UT Health San Antonio for around 20 years and has served as Chief Operating Officer since 2019. She has both a bachelor's and master's degrees of business administration focused in healthcare. Today we'll have a one-on-one conversation with Andrea as we talk about her path to leadership and the vision and values that shaped her career. So let's welcome Andrea Marks. Andrea, thanks so much for being with us. We are excited to have you as part of our podcast. We've been working hard to do this, and we know that you are excited to come on and be a part of it and tell your story and send your message out to our students and staff as well. So great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting. As I told you, I've never even listened to a podcast, so this will be fun. This will be my first one that I listen to.
Good.
And maybe I'll get the bug.
That's
like
right.
Everyone else.
We hope you do. So, tell me about your position. What's your position, and what are your responsibilities?
So my official title is the Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. I'm essentially in charge of all of operations. So finance, HR, IT, facilities, legal, space planning, compliance, internal audit, all of those areas fall under my responsibility. Strategy is another area, a recent vice president that we've added. What I see as my job is not just keeping the trains running, though. It's on trying to chart the course for the vision of the leadership, the president, the deans, all of our schools. Where are we going? Who do we want to be when we grow up? How we get there, I see that as instrumental in terms of my job, is execution of that vision.
Interesting. Are you from San Antonio, or did you grow up somewhere else and eventually move here?
I actually grew up in San Antonio, spent all of my life here. I was born in California, but we moved back here when I was 1 year old. My mom's entire family is here. I grew up on the west side of San Antonio, so went to Thomas Jefferson High School. And then went to UT Austin for 4 years to get my bachelor's degree and worked there for a little while and then came right back.
And what was your first job? We've heard stories about you possibly being a hostess at Bonanza. I don't even know if those exist anymore.
They don't. So many people of a certain age don't remember Bonanza. Yeah. But if you were here in San Antonio in the 80s, it was kind of a buffet, but it had a large salad bar, and then you could order a chopped steak or a chicken breast, chicken fingers, and off the menu. And so I worked there as my very first job when I was 15. We built these giant vegetable towers. And so I was so proud of myself for learning how to put the broccoli and the cauliflower and everything just right into this giant tower that people would come to the salad bar. And it was like people came to actually see that they could not knock it over when they were getting their salad bar. After I worked I only worked there for a few months, and then went to work for Popeye's Fried Chicken. I did that for 2 years. Those two jobs, building that vegetable tower and cleaning out grease traps is really what convinced me that I needed to go to college, that I did not want to do that for my whole life and I needed an education. I've always worked a lot. All through college I worked. I didn't have the best grades as a college student because I worked 20 hours a week. I certainly had to get my fun in college. And so when I graduated, I actually didn't have a job. I had worked at an office in the UT Press at UT Austin and was lucky enough to impress their CFO. So when I graduated, she knew I didn't have a job. My grades weren't great. I was a solid BC student at UT. I did graduate in 4 years, but just wasn't able to get a 4.0 with all of my other responsibilities and demands. She recommended me to the internal auditor at UT Austin and said, I've got this great student employee who's graduating. She'd be a great auditor. Why don't you hire her? And so I got that job. I found out later that she never recommended anyone. And so they said, if Joyce said you were going to be a good fit, then we knew you had something on the ball. And so that was nice. That was nice to learn.
Interesting. To date, what is your greatest professional passion, and tell me why?
So, I really like solving problems. And I think as I have progressed throughout my career, the problems get more complex, they get more challenging. But I really think as a professional, that's what I'm good at. And so it fulfills me when I see us able to work through a problem, take on new things and be successful at it. But most importantly, I've got to do it through others. I've got to work through others. I have to, collaborate across the institution. And even when I was AVP and I was sort of in my own bubble with, being the controller of the organization and having business affairs operations reporting to me, I loved the energy of bringing folks together and solving problems and advancing the institution in whatever small way that we could. So I think that's what keeps me motivated. I tell people all the time, I love my job. No one believes me, but I really, really do.
Well, you've been here for so long, you would think that you have to love your job. So
it's true.
You've been with UT for such a long time. We've said, 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. Why have you been here for so long? Well, I mean, obviously your job, but why else?
Well, so it never really has occurred to me to leave. Mm-hmm. I'm categorized as a Gen X, but I really approach my job more like a baby boomer because dedication, loyalty, stability, those are all things that are really important to me. And so I found that here. Never thought I should go anywhere else. When I became CFO, we had an unprecedented state budget cut. So I've always felt like this, I gotta be here. I have to help. I have to fix this. I felt such responsibility. When things finally stabilized, we hired Mike Black. He was a great leader for the organization as COO. And then, after we got through the state budget cut, I was finally at a place where I felt like, let me look to see what else is out there. And I entertained a couple of other options, but I felt like the curtain was about to go up on this place. Like, we've been working so hard to stabilize, to grow our wealth, to improve our financial condition, to get all the right people on the bus. We hired leaders like Yeeman Collier and Heather Adkins and Amy Tawney, all of these great vice presidents, Dr. Mock. We have all of these folks who are all aligned. Why would I go? This is the best place to work. And it's a place where you can lean in whatever way you want to help. There's so many ways to contribute.
And all of that hard work has paid off for everybody.
I would like to think so. Yeah. I really would. I get such fulfillment from seeing where the organization has come. But I'm so sad that nobody remembers. Nobody remembers 20 years ago. It was so bad.
Yeah. Every leader, supervisor, manager, they have a different, maybe a unique way of leading their team. Someone can be laid back and fun. Another person can be a micromanager, which sometimes can cause some issues with some people. What's your leadership style?
So I always find this to be a really hard question because I don't think I have any one style. I think that I'm adaptable based on the situation. I think if I think about the way my colleagues would describe me as a leader, I think that they would say I'm a convener, I'm a builder, I'm a developer. I think if I think about how my direct reports would describe me, I think they would say I'm demanding. I have high expectations. I can sometimes challenge them. I can be direct, but I'm also supportive, and they know that they can trust me. And so I try really hard because of how I grew up. in my career, I have always known how important it is to build talent and to allow them to do their job with appropriate direction and support. So that's all built on trust. There's no way to be able to have that kind of relationship where you can be direct and also be sort of forward thinking and pushing the team if they don't trust that you're going to have their back if they fail. Because if you are not taking risks, if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking risks. And they need to know that it's okay to take those risks because I'll be there to work through it.
So how does your team respond to the way that you lead them? I mean, are you the approachable type of manager that says, come to me, any issue I can help you with?
I hope so. I think that that's the case. I think that what I've tried to demonstrate to my team is that I will help them in any way that they need me to. I'll intervene if I need to, but oftentimes they just need somebody to talk through it with. They really don't want me to fix it because that's not that they want to do their job, but they need to brainstorm. They need to have a critical eye, but also an objective view and somebody to talk through these things with. So I try to be really direct in my communication with them to say, how can I help you? Here's what I would do. How can I influence behind the scenes? Who can I talk to about why this might be a challenge? I have such great visibility just because of what I do into everything that's happening at the organization that I can help influence in subtle ways that no one will really know that I'm trying to help the CFO accomplish, whatever it is that she's trying to accomplish. We have a lot of meetings before the meetings and, discussions about how best to strategize. I just really try to be available to them, but not usurp their responsibility or absolve them of responsibility. Just really have them, take ownership of it, but know that I want to help.
At some point or another in our lives, maybe even as an adolescent or as an adult, we have different people that have inspired or maybe even mentored us. Who is your inspiration or who's mentored you in the past that means a lot to you?
So, when I think about as a child, it was certainly my mom pushed me. I wouldn't call her a mentor. She pushed me. But my grandfather was certainly an inspiration. He was a feminist before he knew what those were, and was very supportive of me getting an education, of me using my talents, and being independent. He very much encouraged me to be independent. As I've come into my career, you're right. There's been so many people who have influenced my approach. There's been so many people who have believed in me and have trusted me and have taken a risk on me. Dr. Henrich stands out, though, as one who has been so inspirational. I don't think people know since the day he got here that he has had a vision for this place. He became dean, I think, in 2006. And he knew that we needed to grow as an organization, that if we were going to be top tier, there were many things that we were sort of deficient on. And remember, we were just coming out of being broke in 2000. Yeah. And he got here in 2006 and was like, how much money is there? I need it all. And so he wasn't wrong. And he has really led us. But he's not someone that I look to learn how to be a COO or a CFO. Mm-hmm. He leaves that to me. But he's going to set the course. He's going to see what we are capable of. And so there's been a lot of folks along the way. I think there are folks who don't even know that they're mentoring me. Heather Adkins is a good example. She's somebody that if I want to look at something upside down from the way I see it, I need to go talk to Heather because she has a very different perspective than I do. I'm an accountant. I'm, by trade. She's a creative type, but also very structured, very strategic. And so I think she would be shocked if I said told her she was a mentor, but it's across the institution and it's like a little pool, mentor pool.
And I'm sure there are many people around you now, your staff, students who have spoken to you. You've become an inspiration to them.
I think so. I think, there's a lot of folks who seek me out, and I welcome that. Because I have the luxury of being direct, and I can tell people what I see and what I think, and it certainly, if folks seek me out, I want them to see that there are so many opportunities to contribute here. Not everybody's going to be COO. I used to tell my CPAs that when I worked in business affairs, not everyone's going to be CFO, but find your niche and find something that fulfills you. Don't worry about title. Don't worry about pay. Worry about coming to work and being fulfilled. So if you work at a mission-based organization like ours, you can check that box all day long, right? Because we are making lives better. We are doing we are serving the public good. But how do I make that personal connection to our mission? And whether you're an accounts payable clerk, or a podcast host, how do I relate to the mission? That's what you have to focus on. And then where do I see the gaps? How do I help? How do I contribute? What are the things that I can do to make myself valuable, which always feels good.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you've had so much success, but even as a successful person, we sometimes mess up. We sometimes feel like we've failed in the past. How have you bounced back from a situation where you might have failed, and how did it affect you?
So, there's been a lot. There's been many instances that I can point to where I learned from my failures. When I was at UT Austin, before I came here, I was the payroll manager at UT Austin. And that was a big job, and I was very young. But one of the things, and I learned that you don't really understand how the payroll works until you break it. And when you break the payroll, you can't spend time wallowing in your defeat and like, oh my God, I feel so bad that I messed that up. You got to fix it. You got to fix it fast. You have to recover quickly, and you have to pull in people to help. So there was so much that I learned in that period. And I'm so grateful that I was so young in my leadership journey, because I was able to learn very important lessons, like relying on experts, bringing in the team, and recovering quickly. Don't spend a lot of time belaboring past mistakes, but learn from them. And every opportunity that where I have failed, I have learned something from it. There are things in my COO tenure, which is just a year and a half, that I wish I had done differently. That I feel like we misstepped on some things. But those lessons that I learned 20 years ago in payroll, get experts together, rely on the team, ask for help, and recover quickly, have served me in those instances as well. When I have made some missteps, they'll remain nameless because they haven't hit the airwaves yet. but it just keeps me humble, because when I think I'm the COO of this place, I'm obviously doing something right. It really is important to pay attention to the basics and to do them well. And those things that I talked about are the basics.
What do you feel is your greatest accomplishment to date, either professionally or even your private life?
So I think professionally, I don't take any one accomplishment. I think there are certain things that make me feel accomplished. And that is the folks who I feel like I've had a hand in growing in this organization. There's a lot of folks who I'm very proud of, who people don't even know that I mentored or that I have helped along the way. And folks in my chain of command who I have developed. The tenure when I was CFO within business affairs was very strong. We had very little turnover. We have a lot of people that promote through the ranks because we tried to create an environment where they could contribute and be rewarded for it, either through more projects, promotions, and whatnot. That makes me feel accomplished as a leader.
Sometimes at our workplace, we have encountered different obstacles or conflicts within employees. Somebody doesn't get along with each other. Someone isn't working well. As a leader, how do you motivate your staff when some of these issues come up?
So I think I try really hard to keep our eye on the prize and our eye on the goal. Being part of a mission-based organization, we all sort of rally around the public good that we're here to do, and as long as we stay focused on that, intentions are in the right place. But we're going to encounter obstacles. We're going to encounter challenges, particularly in a place that's growing as quickly as we are. And so I try to make sure that we always check in with the goal. So if we're going through a lot of conflict and there's so many obstacles, is it worth the squeeze? If no one wants to do this and we don't see the value, we don't see that it is an imperative for the organization, then let's rethink it. Let's be flexible. Let's not just shove this down people's throats if it's a bad idea. I mean, the EDGE initiative is a good example. I believe in my heart that it is something we have to do to organize this place for the future. And but we've had lots of challenges, lots of obstacles. We're in the midst of implementation right now. And certainly everyone is aligned on the value of it, but the execution is where we really have to succeed. And so I keep reminding folks of why we're doing this, and that and slowly it is taking shape, and I can see it working, and I'm really proud of that.
Do a lot of people know about EDGE? Because I know at my office, people haven't ever really even heard of that. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So it surprises me how many people don't, because I feel like I get constant feedback. But I do think in the clinical enterprise, in the Mays Cancer Center and in UTHP, they are a little bit insulated from it because some of their processes are already centralized. Mm-hmm. It's really at the departmental units where we're seeing the need for centralization. Everybody hates that word, but what we're trying to do is realign the individuals who are working across our business functions: HR, IT, finance, marketing and communication, also faculty support, credentialing, and research administration. So we've moved now about 130 people to what we're calling service centers. It's about, actually it's 175. We have 200 total, and we're just realigning them. We're trying to create more efficiency in the delivery of support services. And like I said, I believe that we have to do this as an organization in order to support our growth. We were not going to be able to do it.
If an employee approaches you and decides that they want to change their position, maybe someone who started at the very bottom, entry-level position, they've gained the experience, they want to move up, they think they can have that position, they know they can, what type of advice would you give them?
I think what I would say is that they should assess areas where they can contribute. Look critically about where have I contributed, where have I filled the gaps, where have I done things that potentially were not in my job description, and how have I done them? How have I been able to accomplish those things? And then be open and honest with your supervisor about your own motivations and your own aspirations. Don't be afraid, if you have a good supervisor, don't be afraid that they're going to react negatively to you wanting to advance. My experience has been that having an open dialogue with whoever your boss is around where you want to go in life is important. But if your goal is pay and title, you're at the wrong place. Yeah. Because, and quite frankly, any organization, if you come in focused on my pay and my title, you're going to be frustrated, because you really have to have the mindset that if I'm contributing, if I'm going above and beyond, and I have a good rapport with my boss on what that looks like, then it's going to come. Advancement's going to come. And especially at a place like this, there's so many opportunities. Where I see folks get tripped up is they think I'm doing exactly what I'm told, and why am I not getting promoted? Well, because you're not doing the promotion. Yeah. you're doing what it takes to keep your job. You come to work on time, you do your job, that's the exchange that we make. We give you a check for that. If you want to promote, you gotta do more.
Right.
And it doesn't, that usually comes first. The doing more usually comes before the promotion. People think, well, I'll do that when I get promoted. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. You got to lean in.
Yeah. You have so much experience. You're successful. What is an important lesson that you've learned, and how has it proven invaluable to you?
I think one of the things that I embraced early in my career is that, and it kind of goes along with the career advancement, is that leadership is not about title or power. Anyone can lead or influence in every job. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that I tried to do when I saw problems. I tried to work directly with my boss to fix them. I was never a lone ranger. I was never like, I'm gonna do this on the sly and they're going to be so proud of me that I fixed all of this stuff. I was always in partnership with my boss, but the attitude that I took to problem solving helped my career. And so I think I see so many leaders who have big titles, but don't have the influence that they want. And it's because they haven't learned those influencing skills. And you can do that in any job. You really can. You have to have a partner in your boss. Yeah. But it's absolutely possible. And I also think that leadership can be learned. It needs to be practiced. But it's not something that you are innately born with.
Just doesn't come naturally sometimes.
No, not to everyone. Yeah. But it takes courage, and you've got to put yourself out there. And again, you have to be in an environment where you're able to do that. I have been so fortunate that I have had bosses who have let me fail, and who have supported my, crazy ideas to want to, look at something.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking about crazy ideas, how do you generate great ideas within your organization, and how does your staff respond to that?
So I ask a lot of questions. I think that I'm not afraid to convene diverse groups. That's one of the wonderful things about working at this place in academia, in research, in clinical. There's such a diverse group of expertise, of talent, and bringing them together. That sometimes takes courage. It's so much easier to make a decision in an echo chamber where I surround myself with a bunch of accountants and we all think that this is the right thing to do. It makes perfect sense financially. Let's go do it. That never works. And so having the courage to bring these diverse groups together and then listen, really listen. I used to say that a decision here, and I don't think it's true just at the Health Science Center, but in academic medicine, a decision is just an invitation to debate. Like, it's not really, we're not really going to do that. Yeah. We're going to talk about it some more, aren't we? And so, but that always makes our decisions and our execution richer. When we listen and when we adapt, we really have to be deliberate in our decision making. And I think those great ideas come out of that diverse group.
Let's talk about challenges. So we all tend to challenge ourselves, maybe some more than others, and maybe we want to jog 2 more miles a day or whatever. Same thing with work. How do you challenge yourself, or how do you take care of yourself?
Well, I challenge myself by doing things that I'm not always comfortable with, like doing a podcast, like public speaking. Those are skills, particularly public speaking, that I've had to really work on. And so I do a lot of preparation. I was terrified when I first became CFO of getting in front of the EC and presenting, our budget crisis. And I still get nervous, but I really try to prepare and I think about things from all angles. And so that, to me, that's how I feel like I have this internal challenge in my brain that I start thinking about, well, what are the deans going to say about this? What's the VPR going to say about this? I try to flip things and look at from different lenses so that I can make sure that I am uber prepared and that I have considered perspectives. What are the staff employees in the accounting office going to say about this? because I really I feel like that's my job, is to consider all of those things. In terms of taking care of myself, I think, I'm not afraid to ask for help. That was something that I had to learn personally and professionally very early. Having kids young, getting married young, I wanted to do it all, and I had to just acknowledge that that's not possible. And so asking folks for help, being honest with myself about what I can accomplish it's been a gift, actually.
Yeah. I've only known you for a couple of hours, and you seem to be a very outspoken, very approachable person. So I'm surprised you're even saying any of that. But...
I am not an extrovert.
Really?
No, and yeah. I've learned to be. Everyone in business, they used to always tell me, "You are such an extrovert." I am not an extrovert. I will be exhausted after this podcast, just so you know. We go to social events, and I take my husband, and he just loves it. He's talking to everyone. He's energized. We get home and he still wants to talk some more. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I'm spent. Yeah.
You've been an employee, we've said many times. You've been here for so long. Where do you see UT Health San Antonio moving in the next 5 years?
I cannot tell you how excited I am about our future. We are going to be a completely different organization. And it's because of the vision of our president. It's because of the talent that we've recruited up and down the organization. And we're going to have a hospital. There's all these things that we're going to have, right? We're going to have more access for clinical. Our research dollars will improve, but we are going to be an employer of choice, because we are committed to excellence. And I see that across our leadership. And when you have that, there's nothing that can stop us. Dr. Henrich says, if money is the problem, you don't really have a problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know that I completely agree with that, because money is important. But he's right in terms of, we if that's the only issue, we can figure out how to get that. Mm-hmm. We've got to work through all these other issues. And we really are, as an organization, the vision that he has set forth for us to be excellent in education, in research, in clinical care, and in the community is coming to fruition. And it's all going to be realized in the next 5 years, I think.
That's wonderful. Towards the end of each podcast, I'm going to have a set of questions that I'm going to ask each of my guests, and they're all the same questions.
Okay.
So a lot of these questions came from our own staff with SAC, and then some of these came from the popular Proust questionnaire. So I'm going to ask you a series of 10 questions. You'll have 5 seconds or more.
Okay.
You can elaborate, whatever. And then I'll continue to the next and next until we're done. All right? So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your favorite food?
Fish. If anyone knows where to get good fish in San Antonio, let me know. I don't eat it very often, but I love it all. Halibut, snapper, cod, salmon, mahi-mahi. But I don't know where to get that here.
I think I know of a place.
Okay, good.
What's your favorite movie?
Dare I say Pulp Fiction?
Why?
I'm married to a cop who was in law enforcement for many years, so I have a thick skin. Quentin Tarantino is a fantastic director.
He is.
It was our first date. He took me to see Pulp Fiction. It's got great one-liners, from The Fixer, and I mean, it's a great movie, and it's got great acting in it.
And you can watch it over and over and over again.
And I do not watch movies over and over. My husband does. It drives me nuts. He can watch Beverly Hills Cop and The Hangover like every Saturday morning. But Pulp Fiction, I can watch over and over. I know it's gruesome, but...
Yeah, a little bit. What's your favorite word?
So, my favorite word recently is pivot.
Pivot.
Because that's all we've been doing.
Yeah.
We have been pivoting from the pandemic, the vaccine clinic, the hospital. We pivot every single day. I think I need to quit saying it because I've been using it a lot in meetings.
What's your least favorite word?
Stupid.
Stupid.
I hate that word. My kids were not allowed to say that. Growing up with a law enforcement officer as a dad, there's a lot of colorful language in our house. And so my boys, as they became teenagers, they developed his same potty mouth. But I could never stand to hear them say that, to use the word stupid about themselves, about each other, about anyone.
Anything.
Yeah. But, if they said all the other 4-letter words, who cares?
What's your favorite sound or noise that you love?
Water.
Water.
Whether it's off of a pool, off of the ocean. I love to sit and listen to the sound of running water.
Because it's just relaxing.
It's very relaxing.
Rain.
Yes, I love the sound of rain.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of us like that. What sound or noise do you just hate?
Popping gum. I think I lose my mind when someone pops their gum.
Do you tell them anything?
Well, usually it's my husband or my kids, so yes.
What about if you're out in public and somebody you don't know?
I would never do that.
Really?
I'm not an extrovert. I would never confront someone. I would just move quickly away.
Yeah.
I would tell my husband, "Did you hear that?"
What profession other than you own would you not like to attempt?
Would I not do?
Mm-hmm.
So, along the same lines, anything that requires me to be extroverted 24 hours a day, marketing, development, communications, like any of that where I have to constantly engage with people and be charming and be, it just requires so much of me. I really, I don't know how people like Debbie Morrill and all of her development team, they're so charming and they're so good at it. Heather Adkins and that whole marketing team, they just make you feel at ease. I don't have that skill set. And maybe that's why I would never want to do it, because I know I wouldn't be good at it. That gives me like hives.
And that again is a shock to me, because you don't seem anything like that at all.
I know. Well, I've been practicing.
Yeah. You just seem so outgoing, like a fun friend you'd like to have and go out and do stuff with.
I'm a lot of fun, Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm not fun.
What about a profession that you would love to do other than your own?
Yeah. As I said, I love my job. I think I always wanted to be an attorney. And because I wanted to be a trial judge. I know that sounds weird, but...
sounds very opposite of everything else you've said about being out there and...
Yeah.
Because you have to put yourself out there with that.
Well, I know, but you just get to sit on the bench and adjudicate. The attorneys come in, they make their case, and you get to objectively rule.
Yep.
I love that. That just sounds like such fun.
What about being an attorney?
Talk a lot. Well, and I wanted to be an attorney for a long time, but I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to go to law school. So I chose accounting because I knew I could get a job. My plan was always to go back and get my law degree, and it just never worked out that way. I told my husband I might.
Yeah.
He said I was crazy.
That'll be your next challenge.
That's right.
Tell me a favorite meaningful book that you've read, or a publication. Obviously, podcast you have never listened to before.
No, but I'm taking recommendations.
Good.
So please turn me on to some podcast recommendations. So I always have a few books going. I really like Brene Brown, the leadership, just because she's female. And so I read recently her Dare to Lead, which I thought was great. But I've also started the Obama book on my iPad. I have an audiobook going. And I try to read books for different reasons. So I read Brene Brown so that I can get inspired at work, so that I can listen for similar challenges, so I can, just feel like I'm not alone, and that there are tools out there. But I read other things for pleasure, like Obama's book and Michelle Obama's book, and I'm reading another. But I like thrillers, and so I've had to back away from some of those, the Silence of the Lamb type books. I've learned that that my stress relief cannot be more stress, like a suspense thriller. I need to read something a little bit,
more calm and not so stressful.
Right. So any recommendations for good, fun books, I take that too.
And podcasts.
Right.
There's
and
a lot
podcasts.
Of them. Yeah. If the afterlife is real, what's the first thing you'd want to see or hear when you arrive?
I think the first thing I'd want to hear is, you made it. Good job.
Yep.
The first thing I'd want to see would probably be my grandpa. I would love for him to see me. I mean, I know he's watching over me, but I would love for us to be reunited. And then I think another thing I'd like to hear is is you did a great job raising, thank you for raising two strong men. Because that's always been a worry of mine, as any working parent knows, that it's you never know, if any parent, working or not, you never know if you're doing it right. And to see my children 24 and 20 now, they're good people, and that makes me proud. And so I would like my God to acknowledge that they both love Jesus, and that's all I can ask for.
And that you're a kind, good person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we want to thank you for being a part of our podcast. It's exciting to have you as our first guest, and we hope that a lot of our staff and our students have learned a lot from you. I know that today you've become an inspiration for a lot of them, so we want to thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. This was much funner than I thought it was going to be.
I'm glad it was. I'm glad it was.
I love getting to know you, and
Good.
I just really appreciate the time that you guys are putting into this. I think it's great. I want to be accessible. I want to be relatable. I want people to know that I'm a regular person, and I care so deeply about this organization and about each and every one of our employees.
And maybe you'll come back and visit us again.
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time to listen to today's podcast, brought to you by the Staff Advisory Council in partnership with Marketing and Communications. You can find future podcasts on My UT Health on the Staff Advisory Council page. I'm Ryan Kniffel, and remember, the only one that can reach their full potential and create a better tomorrow is you. Thanks for listening.